Hello, and welcome to Inside the Chrysalis with your host, Latesha Higgs. This is a platform that's dedicated to sharing the lived experiences of those managing a mental health condition so that we can erase the stigma associated with mental health. We want you to get out there and get help. Understand that having a mental health condition is not a death sentence. You will be okay. Look at me. I've been able to make it. All right. So today we have our guest, Latrina Caldwell. She is an author of 7 books, guys. 7 books. Her first, I Am Hurt?
Yes, I am
Yes,
her.
okay. So can you go ahead and introduce yourself for our listeners?
Yes, I am Latrina C, a serial entrepreneur, a author, I'm a life coach. I am a speaker. I am a mother. I am a fashion model, a community leader. I do media correspondent interviews, blogger, and the list goes on. So,
Wow.
yes,
Wow. Wow. So you are a busy woman.
yes.
You are a busy woman. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with our interview. Can you tell us a little bit about your story? What led to your diagnosis and your experiences? And make sure you talk a little bit about your book in there, because I know you said you had some of your experiences is in that book.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So early on, right away, I started with having depression and anxiety issues because as a child, my father did not want to connect with me.
Mm.
I'm just be straight up. He said, I just don't want you. I don't want the relationship with you. So that was something that I had to kind of deal with going on 40 years now. But in the beginning, I didn't quite understand why he didn't want me or to be a part of my life. I was like, I'm a good person. What did I do? So that led me into severe depression, dealing with some anxiety and some, of course, the post traumatic stress disorder. And I was diagnosed as an early teen
Mm.
um, with those diagnoses, and that led me to seeking a father in everything that I did, every encounter with the men that I dated, from the food that I ate, everything that I did, everything that I was doing in life, it had an effect from the beginning, from my father saying, I just didn't want you. And that severely affected my mental health because I just couldn't understand um, why. But as you get older and as you connect more with God, you understand that it's not you, it's something with Him. So I had to grow to learn to accept it. He's been past almost 5 years now. So I never had an opportunity to ask him because before he passed for 10 years, I didn't speak to him. So I never had an opportunity to gain any closure to why he didn't want a relationship with me. But it had a strong effect. To this day, I still think about it. I'm still healing. I feel like healing is a long process. And
Yes.
I don't know if we ever get there, but I know that I'm on my journey and I know I'm not where I was. So I understand that.
Yeah,
So,
just
as I,
mentioning that just makes me real. I need others that are hearing this, that people think that boys, it's just boys need their dads.
no,
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 girls need their dads too.
I
It is
wanted
so
him.
important for girls to have their dads.
I
That's
wanted
how we learn how to love. If we choose to love someone of the opposite sex, that's how we know how to have that relationship with them. It's like, wow. But okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. This is good.
That's okay, yeah. So it just led me into dating the wrong kind of man because, again, as you stated, I didn't have that example. That's your first love is your parents. So he would have been an example of what to look for. I never
Mm,
had that example, so of course I dated the wrong men, and I ended up getting into an abusive relationship. And I'm gonna be honest, I saw my mother go through abuse, and then yes, I fell right in the cycle of abuse. And during my whole pregnancy 20 years ago, I suffered abuse. And that affected, again, that depression piece, the anxiety piece. And then I'm with child. And it's like every week I was in the hospital. It was really hard. It was really rough for me to go through that, because again, I didn't understand, why am I going through this? You know, what did I do? I couldn't figure out what was my part in it. I always try to figure out, what did Latrina do? Because I always want to fix things. I was a people's pleaser. So I wanted to please people. So I always wanted to figure out what the problem was so Latrina could fix it. But the more as time went on and I started to get help for myself. So after I had my daughter, I figured out that she had some extreme mental health issues. And I would assume, because every time I was hit, choked, or pushed, or punched, she felt it. She was in the womb. So
Well, this was going on while you were pregnant?
the entire 9 months of my pregnancy.
Oh my goodness.
I can remember having two black eyes, 8 months pregnant, and hiding with glasses on in the winter, going to work. It was really, really hard. No one saved me. I felt like no one helped me. I felt like, where's God? I really went through something very, very personal, because in the beginning we was raised in church with getting to know God and getting to know the word, and then somehow some of us disconnect. And I went through that period of just not knowing who I was and just really disconnecting from the world. I knew I was different. I still knew I was special. I knew it was something inside of me, because growing up in the streets of Chicago, I would see everyone around me selling drugs or whatever they were doing. And I stayed in the house. I still was separate. I still was different. To this day, I would be the outcast in the family to this day, right now. And it's 40 years now. So, and then as time went on, seeing the issues with my daughter, I started to try to seek help for her. And when she was about 5, she looked at me and said, "You always seeking help for me, Mom, but you got to get help for you." She was
At 5, she said this?
She was 5.
What was she? Okay, so at 5, what was she seeing? Were you crying a lot? Like, what was it that she was seeing that made her say, "Mom, you need help too"? Because this 5 years old.
Well, I had learned behavior. I didn't know how to talk to my kids because I wasn't talked to properly. So I did learn behavior. I didn't treat them the way that I should have treated them at the time. And that's because my mother's mother committed suicide at 12. So she didn't have an example, right? I had to really think about and process all this. She didn't have an example. So how was she really able to be an example for me? So my story runs really deep, but now my mother is one of my best friends ever, her and my daughter. So I ended up having a second daughter, and she got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So I had one with mental health, I had my mental health, and then I had one with physical health, and I was a single mother.
Wow.
So
Were you going through abuse with the second pregnancy as well?
I did not. Totally different type of a man. He was a father. So that father that I seeked, he was that. He was that. But I am no longer, I've been free of him for 10 years now. But he was that father figure. He gave me the boyfriend, the father, the brother, the cousin. He kind of was everything wrapped in one. And that's not how it's supposed to be. So as I grew and I went to therapy, I went to leadership classes, I went to parenting classes. I had therapy 3 days a week in my home for me and my daughters. I knew early on that I had to do the work. It started burning inside of me, like, you need to do the work. There's work that you have to do. I realized nobody's going to give you anything. I realized that this is my mind, my mental health, and I am in charge of me, especially as I became an adult. And I started to have all these responsibilities. So then I started to learn how to take my power back. So fast forward about 5 years ago, I was driving, me and my baby, I was driving, and I fell asleep because I have chronic sleep apnea. And it was, I knew it, but I didn't treat it. I didn't take care of myself. I just knew how to work, do this therapy, be in these programs, and just keep going.
Would you say you were trying to be the strong Black woman type thing? I had a guest on, we had on one of another episode, we talked about Black women feeling like they have to be this strong Black woman and helping, constantly helping everyone else, not helping ourselves, is actually hurting us.
Yes.
It's hurting us.
Damaged me. It damaged me. I was on burnout. I didn't know though, because I knew something was in me. I knew I still had to do the work. So I called myself, I'm doing the work. I didn't know that my work may not all have been effective because I was in burnout mode. So when I fell asleep driving, my daughter screamed. I woke up before it was an accident. And at that time, I said, I got to make a choice. This is life or death for me. I have to make a choice. I want to live or I want to die. And it starts right now. And I was 345 pounds. So I went through taking my power back and my weight loss. Everything started to begin to be healthy for me. I started to really understand what self-care meant. Now I've adopted the name the self-care pusher because I live a self-care lifestyle. So every single day I take time for Latrina. I had to learn that as I had to learn and accept who I was. So when I started to do that work within myself, I started to lose weight. I started to journal. That's how I became an author. So my first book is a lot of my journal pages. It's authentic. I'll send you a copy. It's like the real raw part of me. And I felt like I have to put my truth out here. We have to stop hiding in the back. We have to come to the front and tell our stories. It's time for my voice to be heard because someone else's life may be changed just from me telling my story and letting them know that I was you. So if you work hard, this is what it looks like. You can get there.
Right. So share with us some of that truth that you talked about that's in your book. Share with us some of that.
Oh, I talked about the ugly parts of me. I talked
Mhm.
about the areas of the parts of myself I did not like. I did not like that I was a needy person because I wanted my father. I always needed something because I didn't have that. So I've always been needy. I always wanted and needed you and needed this and needed that. So that was really hard to accept, to look in the mirror. I did my mirror work. I looked in that mirror and said, you know what? I validate you, Latrina. I validate that you are needy, that sometimes you can talk too much. About that, that sometimes you can, that, I just had to get to that place of acceptance. I just had to get.
I think you're muted.
Oh,
Can you hear
I'm
us?
sorry.
Oh, there you go. There you
I'm
go.
sorry about that. I had to get to that place of just being vulnerable. And I have my book right here, too. I have a chapter in here called Backseat. People don't understand before you can be a leader, you have to be a great student. Even to this day, even with how far I've come, I still understand that sometimes I got to take a back seat because there's still things that I need to learn. And I also do a lot of self reflection. I self reflect a lot because I want to be a great person. And I understand that I don't want someone else to have to check my stuff, I'll check
Mhm.
my own stuff. So I learned how to look in the mirror and be okay with my stuff. I have a chapter called Suffer. People don't understand. We cause our own suffering sometimes. It's good suffering and bad suffering.
Mhm.
A good suffering is, you know what, I need to save. I'm on a journey. I need to do this weight loss. I need to do this and be disciplined in this area. That's good suffering. Bad suffering is I made a conscious choice to do what I know I shouldn't have done. That's bad
Mhm.
suffering. So I just talk about and I take you on a journey of self discovery and learning and accepting who you are and finding your her within yourself. Because that's what I had to do, even with mental health struggles. And I still struggle with mental health. I don't know if it's ever an ending to struggling with mental health, but you can live a successful lifestyle when you know who you are and you address your mental health and you help yourself. And that's exactly what I do on an everyday basis.
So how did you get to that point? I mean, like when you say you know who you are, and
Mhm.
it sounds like the first thing you did was look in the mirror.
Yes.
Just look in the mirror. And walk me through that step. What was that like? What did you literally stood in front of the mirror and said, these are
Yes.
the issues? Like, walk us through that.
It was painful. I cried. I was heartbroken. But I went to that mirror and I looked at that 345-pound girl and I validated her. I looked right in the eyes of myself and my own soul and say, I validate you, Latrina. It's okay that you're broken. It's okay that you're hurt. It's okay that you've been raped. It's okay that you've been abused. It's okay that your father didn't want you. I validate you, Latrina. So I had to validate myself and just own my own insecurities. I actually have a quote. I own about 10 of them. And I have one that talks about owning your insecurities and how they validate your inner securities. So I had to own the the insecurities about myself to validate myself. And that was like so powerful for me. It's like something came over me, like it just was an overwhelming feeling, because it was like I was able to tell me I didn't need nobody else, not the men saying no one will want you, you too fat, you can't do this, you can't do that, oh you dysfunctional, or you whatever the case was. I just accepted everything, because I can remember when my girls were little, I used to take them to church because I know that one of the best gifts you can give anyone is the Father. So I introduced my girls
Yes.
so they know what to do. So I can remember 2 years I sat in church, and you just going, you get the word, yeah. But one day it just really hit me, and it's like God told me Himself, "I chose you.
Mm.
I chose you to be the light. You go out there and you represent me. You show them that they can be great too, no matter where they come from or what their obstacles are. I still have obstacles to this day, but let me tell you, I wake up with a made up mindset that I'm ready to fight. Come on, obstacle, and I walk right over it and I keep going. And that's the same thing I teach my clients to do. My family, friends, children, whomever in contact, my mentees to my mentor program, I teach them how to self validate, how to love themselves. We talk about everything from self love, body image, accountability, financial literacy, the things that we wasn't taught as you know. I thought
Yeah.
about it. I need to give back the things that I didn't get. And the things
Mm.
that my daughters helped me realize that I didn't give them. I've given it to them now. But my girls really was my breaking point. They really said, Mom, Mom, you're a great mom, but you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself, Mom. So now, I think I was sharing with you, I was just come back from New York, and my daughter told me, she said, Mom, I wouldn't be the woman I am today if it wasn't for you.
Wow.
She said my dad could try to take credit. He just coming around 20 years later. He was my abuser. She said, but Mom, no, you made me the woman I am today. You one of the strongest women. You and Mana, which is my mother, the strongest two women I've ever met and seen in my entire life. And that was everything. Because when your kids come tell you, and I didn't expect that. We was just sitting down on the rooftop, and she just was like, Mom, I just need to share. You need to know that
Yeah.
you are everything. I remember when I was younger, I remember the things you did for me. I remember you helping us, and so doing the work really pays off, and I'm proof of it.
Yeah.
I
That's
used to be this.
amazing. That's amazing. It's
Yes, I
yeah,
didn't even tell you.
I
One,
have a 24-year-old, and my son is 20, well, he'll be 24 Monday, August 30th. And I'm telling you, the first time he came and told me, Mom, you're one of the strongest women I've ever known, and because he knows my story as well, and he's heard me speak at different engagements, and that is true, to just be an example. I think that when you become a parent.
can't hear you.
You can hear me? Oh, wow. We're going to pause
Not
right
sure what happened.
here. Can you hear? Can you hear me now? Hello? So we're going to pause right here, and we'll be right back.
I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what happened. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
And no, it's no problem. That's just the enemy don't want these stories told. This enemy just don't want these stories told. But I was saying how my son, he heard my story, and he's always said he admired me. But I think that as a parent, when you become a parent, your major assignment is to be an example to your child, and to hear your child as an adult said, hey, I am where I am because of you, because of your help, because of your prayers, because of your strength. it's just, it gives you that push to keep going, and it make you go back and think, "Oh, Lord, what I went through when they were growing up, it was well worth it." To hear your own child say, "Well done."
Yes.
To hear your child say, "Well done." That
Yeah.
is so amazing. That is so amazing.
Yeah.
So when you said you're the oldest child's father, he was the one that was abused you as while you were pregnant.
Yes.
Do you guys communicate now, or what has he like? How is that interaction now?
We do. My daughter stated to me recently, she said, Mom, I never thought you and my dad would be able to have a friendship.
Wow.
And I know it's because of God first and then me making a conscious decision to forgive him. So now we do. We can have a conversation. We can be around each other, very cordial. We can laugh. Um, Actually, one of my daughter's siblings was murdered about a
Mm.
month ago. I went to the funeral. I hugged him, his entire family, all the baby mamas, all the children. I was there to support because you put yourself in a place of others, and I can imagine because that was like my kid too, because but I was there, and I'll always be there because I know that he has to face him. He don't have to face me, so I'm okay with it at this point. But
Has he ever come back to apologize? Okay.
he has recently, like after the funeral, he came to me and he said, first of all, he told me how amazing our daughter was. He said, our daughter and the work that you've done with her, he said she's the most beautiful. So he gave me my flowers with that. And then he let me know, had I met you now at this age, I would have married you. I would have done this. I would have done that. Like, you're an amazing person, and I'm sorry for everything I've put you through. So he did. And I accepted it. It took a minute for me to really, really let it settle, but I appreciate it because I needed that for a long time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how are your, you said earlier your relationship with your, or lack of relationship with your father impact your relationships with other men. Like, how is it now? Is it still a major issue, or is it getting better?
Well, it's a little different now because I had a stepfather my whole life. It still was a difference for me because I really wanted the person that birthed me to love me, but I still had a father figure in my life, and he's still there, and he loves me, and I love him. So, as you mature, you grow, and you learn. I'm all about learning. I learn something new almost every day. So as I learned how to communicate and have better relationships with men. I've been with my now husband 6 years. Totally different dynamic. Totally different. He allows me to be exactly who I am, who I am, and he accepted. And that's everything for me. He didn't try to change anything. Everyone in the past, you have to lose weight to be. You have to give me all your money. I said, what? What the heck? I said, next. Yeah, back in the day. Yes, I've heard it all. You have to do this. You have no, no. And I just thank God that my spirit was always clean, even though it was broken and hurt, and I tried my best to get it back fixed. But I knew how to steer away from certain things. I still, especially after the abuse. After that, like I'm a licensed carrier now. I don't play that now. So I'm not taking any shorts anymore with me and my peace. So things operate differently with my relationships with people in general, because I understand that it's a two-way thing. I understand about communication, and I'm willing to grow with people, but you got to come correct. So things are totally different at this point. So now I can have a genuine conversation or a relationship with the guy, and it is what it is. So,
Mm, mm. So tell me now, what are some things that help you, that you do to stay healthy and to maintain that peace and to live successfully, to thrive? Like, what are some things that help you to thrive while living with the mental health condition?
the conscious choice that me being the best person I can be is helpful for other people. I do the work. I journal, I meditate. As I stated, I live a self-care lifestyle. I created an ebook on self-care, a self-care practice, how to implement self-care in your daily lifestyle or routine. So every single day, I have a rule called 5 by 5. Take 5 minutes, 5 times a day, 25 minutes. And you just spend time with yourself. I like to sit in silence because I like to calm my mind down. I like to relax. I love peace. That peace that surpasses all understanding is everything for me. So I just really spent a lot of time with myself, and I had to learn that that's the most important thing. It's that self care, because when you're taking care of yourself, you're addressing your mental health. It kind of go hand in
Yes.
hand for me. So when you're really authentically taking care of you, you're gonna address your mind and your mindset and your emotions and your spirit. So I do a lot of different things. I love podcasts. I love to read. I write. I blog. Those are very therapeutic for me because as I teach my clients, you have to get the energy and emotions out in a positive way. So the most positive way is could be doing the journaling piece. I like to walk. I do so many different things. I like to paint. I color. I have a niece who is 4, and we color and we do like she made this for me. So
Oh,
we color and we do different things, and that's what really helps me stay balanced. Is when I'm really doing the things that make Latrina happy on a regular basis.
oh, wow. Wow. So tell us a little bit about your, life coach. How did you get into being a life coach? How did that happen?
Well, it started about 10 years ago. I was in college, and I can remember in a women's psychology class, and I shared just a little bit of my story. And after class, there was a line of people that wanted to talk to me. And I can remember someone telling me that something had happened to her and she wasn't able to share it. And it started right there for me.
Mm.
Coach her. I was able to coach and let her know and help her and motivate her and offer tips. When I was in college, I interned at a domestic violence shelter because I was a survivor. So I wanted to work with people like me. So in that space, that's when I really picked up as a case manager and an advocate for abuse. So I was able to coach women throughout all of this time about my life stories. I know off the top of my head, I know a lot of resources. I know a lot of techniques and tips of what to do. And I just share them. And that built, and I didn't know I was coaching at first. I just knew I was good with talking with people and helping them. And then my daughter, grandmother, she's in heaven, but she said, it's something called the help in the Bible. I think you are the help. You're the help. So then I started putting two and two together. And as time went on, I learned about there's a name for what I'm doing. And you can get paid for what you're doing. So then I started to tap into the entrepreneur world. And then I started to learn more about coaching. I went through a certification. Although I coached for years, I even went through a certification because I wanted to have my my ducks in order, you
Right,
know.
right, right.
So yeah.
Wow, this is
I can't hear
amazing.
you again.
Oh,
The enemy, no, it's funny. I cannot hear you.
oh, wow. Oh, man. So give me a minute. Let's pause it again.
I'm gonna go. Should I go out and back in? I can't hear you.
Yes, try that
Okay.
again.
Go out.
So this is while we're waiting for our guest speaker. This enemy is really trying to keep her story away. But while we're waiting for our guest speaker to come back, just to remind you again to please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you share this and any other stories that we have already posted. Make sure you like and follow us on Instagram at Inside the Chrysalis Podcast. And if you have an amazing or compelling story of managing a mental health condition, or that you are a caregiver of someone or a friend of someone that manages a mental health condition and you help them to get to living a thriving, successful life, and you want to share your story, please reach out to us at inside the chrysalis podcast at gmail.com. So we have with us today Miss Latrina Caldwell, who is an author of 7 amazing books. In her first book, I Am Her, she's been telling her story. So, what is that one story that, that one compelling story that you like to share, that's like where you turned your your trial into triumph?
Yeah, in my book as well, I talk about dropping out of school in ninth grade. So I dropped out in ninth grade.
Mm.
I grew up in Chicago. I live in Minnesota now. So I dropped out in ninth grade. I still worked. Even at 13, 14 years old, I worked. You would never know. And then as time went on, I went back to school. I was in my 20s, late 20s, getting a GED. I got a
Wow.
GED. I was 26, 27 years old, GED. And right after that, I went to college, graduated top of my class. I just went up from there. Now to be doing media correspondent interviews with celebrities, I work with 2 magazines as a blogger and a writer. I'm proof that dreams can come true. I'm proof that if you work hard, anything is possible, even with mental health diagnosis.
Yes.
That doesn't define who I am. I defined who I am.
Yes, yes. I like that. I always say when I'm doing doing public speaking, when I talk about mental health and my experiences, I always say I never say I am bipolar, because I believe that you speak into existence
Mhm.
those things that the life and death is in the power of the tongue.
That's
So I
right.
always tell people I don't say I am bipolar. What I say is I have it, because that way when I say I have bipolar, then I'm showing that I can manage it, that
Mhm.
I can overcome it, that I can still live successfully, a successful life, even in the midst of having bipolar disorder. I love that. I love that. So you went to college and,
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, and you just became this amazing person. So you
Mhm.
said you are a blogger for a couple of magazines. Can you tell
Mhm.
us what those magazines are?
Yes, one of them is called Pretty Women Hustle. I graced the cover in April. I do media correspondent interviews on their live Instagram platform. I've done a book collaboration with Pretty Women Hustle called Pretty Paid and Powerful, 40 Days to Empowering the Woman Within. It's a 40-day devotional. It's really good. I write columns in the magazine every month. I do other articles, mini blogs. I write about different things, mainly self care and mental health, but I also put a few fun articles in there as well. And then another magazine is called KP Business Marketing Magazine. I do editing for her magazine. So, yes, I'm on those 2 platforms, and that has been amazing for me as a coach, as a mental health professional, the networking part of it, and just what you learn in the background and the connections is everything for me. And it's all about women, celebrating women in business and knowing that we're a tribe, we can do it, we can support one another. So it's a really good platform, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Wow, wow. I can't believe time has gone so fast. It's already about 33 minutes in. So we got about a couple of more minutes. What are some things that you would like to share with our listeners about? What are some tips? What are some advice that you would give to our listeners, those that are dealing with, let's start with that, people or women, men or women who have been in a domestic abusive situation or domestic violence. I know that the PC term now is intimate partner abuse.
Mhm.
So, what are some tips on how to escape that? Because I had a family member, and I'm telling you, the only way she was able to escape that situation, whatever it is, it was seriously what we call a soul tie. She was just
Yeah.
really connected to this person, and the only way she was able to get out of that relationship is they actually were in a car accident and he passed away. And she actually made the comment. She said, God must have knew that the only way I was going to get out that relationship was he had to go.
Yeah.
And she survived the car accident, a few bruises here and there, but and I mean the car looked like somebody just took it and balled it up.
Mm.
And she survived that, and but he didn't. And and I think of other women, and I've never been in a physically abusive relationship, but I have been in a situationship, I would say, where I was mentally and emotionally abused.
Yeah.
And in that experience, I realized how easy it is to stay in a physically abusive relationship because they get you in your mind.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you get to the point where it's just somehow, some way they manipulate your mind, and you feel like you can't, almost like you can't break away from it,
Yeah.
and I didn't even realize I was in this mentally abusive relationship or situation until an older woman who had been through domestic violence, she had said, or intimate partner abuse for many, 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 many years.
Mhm.
I was telling her my story, and she said, because she has overcame it as well. And she told me, she says, Latisha, you're in an abusive situation. I'm like, no, because I was always looking out for physical abuse. I was always looking out for the physical, like I was no man putting his hand up, you know what I mean? But I didn't realize that the other things that I was experiencing was another form of abuse. So it's
This
going
is
in and out again.
tripping. I can't hear you again. Oh my goodness. I've
It
never.
might be the connection. So while we're waiting for her to come back, I did not know that what I was experiencing was a form of abuse. I had no idea that I because I was fussing back, I was arguing back. Whatever he would say, I will buck back. But I didn't realize that was a form of abuse as well. So give us some tips, give us men and women, some tips on how to escape that and how to recognize that.
This is it's so touchy. It's different for everyone. So touchy, so different. I would definitely say it's your mindset. You have to make that decision. You have to make that decision that you want the help first. Because we can say all along, you need help. I can give you the resources, right? But if you're not ready to accept them, then you're not ready. And that hurts me that it's like that, but it's like that. So it all starts with that mindset of making a choice that you want the help first. You have to be open to receiving the help first. That's the biggest thing for me. But there's resources, there's domestic violence hotlines. Everywhere has a first call for help. There's help out here. There's classes, anonymous classes. People can feel free to do a discovery call with me anytime if they need someone just to talk to in that area, in that if they're in that space. I'm very open to that, but it's so touchy and it's different for everyone, so it's so hard for me to pinpoint what will work for you. But I say that it starts with a personal choice of I want help and this is not for me, and understanding that this is a form of abuse. So for me, it started right there. So once someone gets to that stage of their mindset of thinking that will open the door for help to flow in.
So what would you say to people? And I've heard, and I was that person until I looked at my cousin as being weak, you know and until I found myself in that situation, and I'm like, I'm the strongest person, one of the like, no. So what do you say to people who never experience intimate partner abuse? What do you say to people who think that that's a sign of weakness? Because I've had to learn the hard way, that's not a sign of weakness. It is definitely being manipulated by the abuser. But what do you say to people who don't understand how that happens?
Well, you never know someone's story first. You can't judge a book by its cover. And that's just so true. And you never know what the next person has been through or what they're going through. So I would probably tell them first, if you're cleaning your own porch, right? That's what I say. If you're cleaning your own porch, then maybe you can be more understanding to what anyone's going through. So yeah, that's a good one. That I have to like ponder on that. I have to ponder on that.
It really did take
That's a
for
good one.
me to
Yeah.
have my own experience.
That too, because if you never experienced it, you would never know what it feels like, or the steps, or the levels, or the pain, or the process of being a survivor or going through it. But it's so much it's so much more happening these days too. We had an incident here in Minnesota and it was horrible. So it's still even more effective these days. That's why I created some classes. I'm doing some domestic violence awareness classes through my coaching program here locally. And I'm also doing anger management classes. So I'm trying to contract other professionals to come in with me, and we all get together as professionals and help our community in those areas, because I know that the rates is high right now. It's so much more abuse in the world these days, and so many more forms of abuse that we may not even be aware of.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
A lot of that I wonder if it's because people are just they are bombarded with images of what supposed good a good life is supposed to be like, and so they trying to chase this dream and things like that, and then they get upset, and then they because they're not making it, and then they act out, and then I also think because we're seeing all kinds of disrespect
yeah,
on media, in the media, and in our music. It's just all types of people. It seems like people are forgetting how to love one another. It's just that's so simple. Just love your neighbor. But then I think God, thank you, Jesus. It just came to me. I'm sitting here thinking, why is it that so people are struggling to love one another? Because the word, and I was thinking of the scripture, love your neighbor as you love yourself,
exactly.
right? And then immediately it came to me because people have stopped loving themselves.
Yes, I agree.
People,
I
if
treat
you
people the way I want to be treated. So yeah, I agree.
yeah, we're not loving ourselves. If we learn to love ourselves,
Yeah,
then we can love our neighbors. But somewhere along the line, we've been told that loving ourselves is selfish, and
yeah,
it really isn't. Because you
it's not.
cannot love your neighbor if you don't love you.
Yeah,
If you don't take care of you. You know.
yeah.
Wow, this was an
And
amazing interview. So give us in the last couple of minutes, just tell us a little bit of some amazing things that you got going on right now,
yeah. So
and
I
where everyone can find you.
Yes, yes, yes. So on all platforms, from LinkedIn to Clubhouse to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I am Latrina C. You can feel free to find me there. I just created self-care journals for men. I have one, Men Embracing Self-Care, because as a mental health professional, as a wife, I understand that men do not do well with self-care. So,
Mm.
even sitting with my husband, I created this book for men to, it's a 31-day journal to prompt them how to love themselves.
Oh wow, I love
Mhm.
that. I love
And
that. I
yeah,
love the fact that you consulted your husband.
yep,
I love that. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. And then I have one for us. It's called Self Care as a Lifestyle. And I really took my time and really put some really good prompt questions and good information in there about the mindset and adopting self care as a lifestyle. It shouldn't be just a task. It's not just getting your nails done and a massage. It's every day checking in on you, yourself, your mental health. That's what good self care is. So I have that, and then I have a book collaboration, which is my collaboration of where I have co-authors. I'm the visionary author, and it's called Walking in My Purpose. And it's stories of women coming out of their comfort zone, and they're just sharing their stories with the world of how they made it and how they get, how we get to the next level. What are the steps? What was your story? And hopefully we'll be able to empower others to tell their story so their voice can be heard. And then I have a conference, my very first annual conference. It will be Martin Luther King Day, so January 17th, 2022. And it's called Choose to Change. And it's all about letting your voice be heard, making that conscious choice to change your life and to take your power back, one step at a time. So
Wow.
those are just a few of the things coming up. I have a couple magazine covers and some modeling things and other my youth mentor program, and that as well just kicked off too. So
Oh, wow. So I'm so happy that we got you as a guest
I can't
today.
hear you again. I can't hear you.
Oh, wow. So the good thing is we're ending our interview. So we're just going to give her a couple more minutes to get back in. So you got all of the information that you needed to be able to contact Miss Latrina. And you know, Latrina, this is the end of our actually the end of our interview, but we made it through with all the technical
I
difficulties and
know.
everything that the enemy was trying to do to keep your story from being heard. But it was her, right? It
Thank
was her.
you.
It was her. And he couldn't stop this. But anyway, we thank you so much for coming in. Once again, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure that you like and follow us on Instagram at Inside the Chrysalis Podcast. And thank you so much, Miss Latrina Caldwell, the amazing Latrina Caldwell, for your story and coming to see us. And we see you next time on Inside the Chrysalis with your host, Latesha Higgs.
Thank you.